Welcome to Memory Garden Retreats. This is actually 249 4th Street A East, and we purchased it, my husband and I and my grandmother, back in 1979. And it was from a friend. Her name was Rosemary Kennedy, so it's a Kennedy house built in 1922. And we had no idea we were going to start gardening like we did, but we moved in from a farm and we had a rototiller and rows of vegetables at that time, and so we didn't know where to start when we started working with this house. So one of the things I wanted to do today is actually give you a tour of the garden and what we did do and some of our inspiration. The big thing is that because it's Memory Garden Retreats, it's in memory of my husband who died. It's actually 6 years now. He died in 2005, and it's been my pleasure to be the steward of the land and to keep the garden going. So I would like to, I'd just like to tell you some of the stories about how it came to be. Well, just come with me into this little entranceway. It kind of has got kiwi bushes. This is a burning bush, but kiwi bushes all over it. And this year, you can see the little white petals. It is so full of blossoms. The size of kiwis that we get on this are just those little ones that you get in the grocery store, and you can use them, you need lots of them, but that's what this is, and it's really quite a nice entranceway. I always get a laugh because my husband did put up the sign that says garden tours 5 cents when we were doing our gardening before, and we always had a laugh about that. And so some of his friends who would come to visit actually gave him a nickel when they would come to visit. So he actually started the garden tour business in a joking kind of way while he was still busy working in this. The garden became our friend because we both spent many hours together in our garden. And the reason that it kind of came, and I'm going to show you now how it's a whole bunch of separate beds, is that we had Northwood Associates come and kind of give us a plan, and she suggested that we go up on the Bruce Peninsula and visit Larkwhistle Garden. And once we saw Larkwhistle Garden, that was the inspiration about what we were able to do here. And this is over 32 years of gardening work that you're going to see today, and so this is called a mature garden for sure. And some of the things are from the very beginning, and of course lots of new things. But it's mostly perennials, so we just add a little bit of splash of color each year. So here we go around through on our garden tour. Okay, well now we've just come through that little gateway, and this is basically 3 beds. We call these 3 beds because 2 walkways. And I'm going to start with telling you about the walkways because they are all brickwork now. We started out with them being sand because the Larkwhistle fellows are on sandy land and they had sand. And I loved coming out and just walking on the sand. It was so warm and on the hot days, and I loved it. But unfortunately, the cats in our neighborhood also loved it. And once we realized that the cats were loving the sand to the degree they were, we started working with stone and the brickwork. And actually, I'm saying we, but my husband did it all. George, these were George's walks. He was down on his hands and knees and put in every one of these bricks. The plan was to have kind of a natural look, so there's moss growing out of it, and that's what I mean by the beds. The beds are all separated now by stone, the brickwork, and I think George was on his hands and knees for like 5 years doing the brickwork around here. You're going to see more of it. The other thing that's kind of unique here is that we really have a shade garden. There's so many big trees. So to have the vegetables, and I'm trying to do edibles this year to showcase having sustainable gardens. So I have edibles in with all of the flowers, but this is the only part that has enough sun for that to happen. So this is where if we wanted roses, this is where they are. And look how lucky I am this morning. This is absolutely glorious from last night's rain on it, and that's our first rose. So we have 5 rose bushes, and we have peonies in this bush. So what I have in it with it this year is I have bok choy all the way along here, and I think it's a lovely hedge, and I have kale. So this is what I'm saying. I've got garlic and onions showing up here. I'll show you some more edibles as we go around the corner.